Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. Look, I thought it was a really strong quarter, broad-based beat across the board, and we're seeing a lot of the most important areas, cloud, Azure, Dynamics, all accelerating. And it's really telling us, number one, the software spending environment remains healthy, and number two, we're in the early days of digital transformation, and that those secular tailwinds are just going to continue going on from here.
Brent, why is Alphabet down a little bit?
59% year to date, Ron. Huge move. I think, Google bet with them in odd years, and we're coming up on an even year, right? So even years it underperforms don't shoot the messenger. But they tend to have these great years in the stock, and you see a digestion. There's a high correlation in odd and even. I can show you the numbers, but we've had a huge move. We're in an odd year, embrace the oddness of Google. And, YouTube was a little bit lighter than most people have thought. But overall, good numbers. Stock's still cheap at a mid-teen EBITDA. We still like it long term, but a number of these names have had big moves. They need to digest these gains.
Actually, the winner of the three in after hours by a little is Twitter, Brent, and it hasn't done a lot this year, but it's had a nice run from the March lows. We knew the ad market was strong, but it's interesting how they distinguish themselves from Facebook and from Snap, especially. What do you make of that one?
Yeah, expectations were super low going in. Stock's only up 13%. It's been a total laggard. They've had, multiple kind of trip ups, if you will. There's just better names in social and the internet. So the expectations were super low going in. It was basically in May. People were expecting, maybe a little bigger miss. So good enough. I would correct kind of my observation. I think Microsoft blew it out. You have to go back 7 years ago to look at 22% growth, the type of operating margin expansion, that to me is the absolute clear standout by 10 miles. There's nothing even close. Those numbers were insane.
Rishi, do you agree to that level of commendation to Microsoft's quarter? And what does it kind of mean for their multiple at the moment, given that there are some mega cap tech names on a relative discount like Facebook?
Yeah, I think, look, Microsoft doesn't have the antitrust concerns, doesn't have the government concerns that you have in consumer internet and social media. And you have just so many strong secular tailwinds working at its back. And at the same time, you're seeing profitability continue to ramp up, right, in spite of the strong growth numbers and in spite of everything that they're seeing. And they seem really, insulated from stuff like supply chain shortages, from the, Apple privacy issues. So this is, by far our favorite mega cap name out there in technology land.
Are they growing the pie, Brent, on cloud, or are they taking market share? What's the story here with that kind of growth that you said you haven't seen in a while?
They're taking massive share from Oracle. They're taking share from IBM. They're taking share from everyone. They're taking share even from Zoom over time as Teams gets more integrated. And I think even look at telephony. Many companies are using Teams for internal calling. As we go into the next year, we think a lot of firms are going to be using it for outside calling. So there's a tremendous setup for them. Azure, 50% growth. Again, it was above the street. They're no doubt taking share. And I think kind of the big move that they have in taking share is around Power Apps, which is what we call low code, no code. There's not enough developers to build the software we need on the planet Earth. And these low code, no code solutions, which I used in the 90s as a developer, you can now use them even more so. And so it lets all of us be our own software developer. And this is a huge opportunity for them. Look, you can't get PCs until next year in some of the case studies we've seen. So that's just you've seen this incredible demand, and that is not going to just land this quarter. It's a recurring theme into next year. So Microsoft set up, as long as Amy and Nadella are running this, I don't think we have too much to worry.
I like what Nadella says in the news release. Digital technology is a deflationary force in an inflationary economy. You both like the stock. Thank you for joining us. Brent Bell, Rishi, appreciate it.